So I'm driving down the highway and I'm running out of gas, and I'm heading towards Factory Records out in Summit, New Jersey. It's about 35 minutes away from me here in Maplewood, and um, I'm on E, and I'm like Kramer, right? Like, how far am I gonna push this? I think I can do it. I think I can go all the way. And then I'm thinking, okay, uh, I can't break down, call my wife, tell her I ran out of gas because I was looking to buy some old tape cassettes. So I get off, I get off the highway, and I'm in the middle of New Jersey. You would think like, oh, New Jersey, it's like Secaucus. Trains going everywhere. If you don't know New Jersey, you wouldn't know that it is the Garden State for a reason, and you can get lost and you can get out in the middle of nowhere quick. And I was in deep countryside of New Jersey looking for a gas station, thinking to myself, what am I doing here? But found the gas station, got filled up, got to Factory Records in one piece, full of excitement. Because this whole experience is the treasure hunt. What can you find at record stores? Not online, not through vinyl, which you're pretty accessible to many, many different records. But what's the treasure hunt of tape cassettes? So, continuing my journey here, um, sort of documenting each record store. I'm trying to figure out what this whole thing means. What I'm doing here, what I'm recording for myself. It's just sort of, I just want to talk about music. I get excited about music. I like drawing parallels from different genres. I like drawing parallels from different time periods and see how music builds, and how it's a blueprint for what the current culture is. They always say, like, I remember social studies class, you study the past to really find out where you're at present. I love new music. I love different kinds of genres of music. I love old music. Um, I'm just and I love the discovery process, which is one of the things I also want to do during this experience is like really find tapes that take chances, which you can because it's like 2.95 or $4 or $5 on the tape. Take chances on albums, live with the albums, and really figure out how they sound. I also want to look at old albums and albums that I know really well, and then see how they play on tape cassette. See what the differences are. See what the nuances are. See what the feel, how the feel is different, because that's what music is, right? It's all about feel. So, how am I gonna break it down? Just for the time being, we'll see where it goes from here. I'm gonna talk about the haul because people do like hearing about what tapes you picked up. And then I'm gonna try a couple episodes where I'm gonna take deeper dives into the cassettes. I tried recording this 3 times. One, the audio is a little messed up. Hopefully this is okay. The second, I just felt like I was rambling and trying to get into the details. Like, you're probably thinking you're kind of rambling now. Be that as it may, I feel like I couldn't really get in depth with the tapes the way I would like to. So what I'm going to talk about is the whole from Factory Records. I'm going to talk a little bit about Factory Records. You may not be from New Jersey. You could be on the other side of the country. You could be in China. You know, who knows? But I think talking about record shops and like sort of the feel that you can get from record shops, and sharing that experience, I think is kind of interesting. I wonder if any of the record shops that I'm finding, you found something similar. Um, because it's all about experience with music and what's bringing us together. are these experiences, either through online or in real life, talking to people about music. Um, so let's start that. Factory Records out in Summit. Um, Told you about the road trip to get out there. It it's a warehouse type thing. So imagine a warehouse with like vinyls, tapes, yes. Um, Also, uh, they have like cassette players, like decks. That's not one. That's a receiver in the back. This is a makeshift. I have a plan for all this stuff in the back, but for right now, uh, that's my little setup back there. I got 2 speakers there, 3 here, and then the sub underneath. It's a Denon bought with Boston speakers. I don't know if I'm saying Denon right. I'm rambling again, but I do want to talk about the museum aspect of it. You walk in, and okay, the first thing I always check for is like, what are they playing on the speakers? What's the music choice, and what kind of how are they playing it, right? The music choice was good. It was sort of actually, I don't know. I don't remember. It didn't really stand out. I remember liking the records they were playing. It did feel digital. It felt like it could be a Spotify or Amazon playlist, which I do take points off right off the cuff because you have a record store and you have access to records, cassettes. They have tons of CDs there. I feel like you could just pop one of those bad boys in there. I always said the ultimate, if you're a record store, is to make a mixtape, uh, and put the mixtape on. If it's specific to the record store, or if it's just one in it you have at home, throw on a mixtape. I'm like, whoa, this record store is serious. Wasn't the case, but this warehouse type musical environment that they have was cool because felt like a museum. There were these little exhibits of music, like there was like a hip hop exhibit and had like a t-shirt and had some like memorabilia, and then like a set of records related to that genre. So you would have your hip hop section, and you would have your rock section, your classic rock section, and I think maybe there was a classical section, um, and it felt experiential, and I thought that was really neat. I wish the tapes were in those sections, but they were sort of reserved for vinyl for the most part. So you walk all in the back, where we find our tapes, right? They're all in the back. Immediately went to a bunch of crates looking for any gems that I could find in. There was 3 crates there. It was all, I want to say, like Wham and Wham level music. Uh, and, maybe I have to give Wham a shot, but that's like the example of the type of music that was in here. Uh, I immediately turned around and saw that they had a whole, like a half wall of alphabetical order. I was like, all right, we're in business. Off the top, no, nothing in the 90s at all. It was mostly classic rock. So I usually scan through for the different genres. Um, this is my 4th record store that I've gone to at this point. I've been to more since, but um, at the time I went here, it was my 4th, and it's all classic rock. It's still, everything is classic rock. The more newest, in fact, the first album we'll talk about, is like the newest album that came out in like 80, 88 or so. We'll talk about that in detail. Um, but yeah, well, I guess we could talk about it now, actually. Yeah, just one final thought about Factory Records is, I'm only there for like 20 or 30 minutes. The You could tell they are very into, um, rebuilding receivers, big decks for CD players, cassette decks, a big time repair shop, and it was cool. It reminded me of my times in a warehouse in Northeast Philly, but it was actually stuff you wanna experience. I was my job back then was, I don't know what they made. Who cares, right? All right. So first album that got my eye was for $2.95, Traveling Wilburys. Bob Dylan, Jeff Lynne, Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, and of course George Harrison, produced by Jeff Lynne and um, George Harrison. I never got into this album when I was growing up. It just it passed me by. It felt like, what can I get out of this? At this point, they're all millionaires. I know they recorded this in Beverly Hills somewhere. So like, what kind of feeling am I gonna get out? Um, and why I love tape collecting is because after I lived with this album, I could say it could be one of my favorite tapes yet. Why I also think that it could be a definitive tape if you are collecting tape cassettes specifically. I feel like the album really grew on me, and I will forever listen to it. And I think that's the beauty of tape cassettes, 'cause once you live with something and you start really taking care of it, you know, really thinking about it and giving it the time that it needs to resonate. Because if albums really stick out and they're amazing, 10 for 10, as soon as you listen to them, they usually don't stick around. Um, I think this is one of those 10 for 10 albums that I love. In fact, I'm gonna try to do an entire video just on this album and what it means. And we're gonna go track by track. But for $2.95, I thought it was great. The other thing that caught my eye, and this was sort of building on my first experience where I got U2's War album. This got my attention. U2's October. This was for $4.95, a mono recording of it. This was great. This is a great album, and I'll explain if I do a video about this as well. But I think this album probably gets overlooked in U2's discography. There's no major hits on it. It doesn't play big. It plays like kids making a tape, right? So I listened to the remastered version on Spotify, and then I listened to this version, and I think the songs are more suited for tape cassette. It feels like more, the songs are more pub garage band type songs, and we put U2 on this like epic scale. They're the rock version of Beyonce or Taylor Swift, right? They're just arena rock. They're the Sphere. This album brings them back to earth, and really strips everything, and makes the songs prove themselves. So for $4.95, I thought this was a good deal. The recording's not great. The mono, Bono and mono, didn't sound great. I have a stereo headphones and the stereo Walkman too, so everything's sort of centered. It could be, you could look at it both ways. You can sort of speak to like the argument like I was making before, where it feels like a demo tape. You know, Um, the other thing I didn't really love about it was that on tape cassette, I really loved the feel of the side one and the side two, right? Um, this tape cassette, and I know why they would do this, of course, when they're doing it, because they have it. Each side contains the complete album, so you don't get that feel of a closure to a set of songs and a reopening of a set of songs. So you don't get that true storytelling. Um, around after the fifth track, Fire, before the sixth track, Tomorrow. It ends. Side A ends with Fire. Side B starts with Tomorrow, and I could use that pause right there. So yeah. So, but for $4.95, it's another Steve Lillywhite album. It's another thing I like about cassettes because the producer is right on there. It tells you right, on there who it is. It has the year. You know, this stuff is special. This stuff is the things that make tapes tapes. All right, so you know what I was saying about like, all right, I want to look at albums with a new lens. I want to really explore different albums. Um, I don't want necessarily to look at albums that I've heard a million times. Well, there's also the collector in me. Paul Simon's Graceland immediately caught my eye because it's probably one of my favorite albums of all time, of any genre, of any artist. I argue it's probably the best album of the 1980s, though that could be debated. It's at least my favorite album from the 1980s. And I got this for strictly the collector. You know what got me really excited about it was that it is a Mexican pressing. So that is all Spanish on the tape. And if this were just to sort of hang on my wall, then that be that. It was worth it. I got it for $10. Some people will say that is overspending. Probably about right. You could probably find this for $7, $8, or $9 maybe. But part of the hunt is you just gotta have to pull the trigger while you're there. And when you go to these independent record stores, it's going right to these guys who are not like kicking back to Paul Simon. This old tape from this Mexican press tape from the 80s. I'll talk about this in detail maybe a little bit on another episode. How fantastic this album is, which you probably should know. But just in terms of the collector version of this, I brought it home. It sounded great. So it's $10. It's a Mexican pressing. It's kind of interesting that way. I kind of like that kind of stuff. And it sounded great. It's in great stereo. You really feel the horns in You Can Call Me Al. You know, you hear the harmonies and Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoe. And the other thing I like about it is just I only listened to this album on MP3. I've listened to it for the last like 20 years or so. iPod, then switched over to smartphone. So I never had that pause, and I didn't realize that the album ended. I'm sorry, the side one ended at Diamonds, and then You Call Me Al at the top of the second side. So I never really felt that pause before, and I thought that's kind of fun. So I got a lot from this $10 tape. Felt like it was nice. All right, so in the Paul Simon theme, I guess, right? And this just so happens that it happened this way, but I argue one of the best albums of the 1960s, Bookends by Simon and Garfunkel. This was $2.95. I mean, what can you say about this album? It is spectacular. It deserves a episode on its own. But some of the highlights are, on tape cassette, you are gonna feel this album completely different than um you know than on anything else streaming. You'll get around the same gist through vinyl, but like, I just think there's something about tape cassette on this. The song Overs, which I always loved. um the warmth of the tape cassette really complements the lyrics and the imagery that he's painting. You're imagining this mahogany um, this mahogany room with bookshelves filled with brim with different books, and you imagine this couple who's sophisticated, and you can feel how their relationship has been deteriorating, and the tape itself uh is emphasizes all those feelings, because the tape has this warmth to it that really the sounds paint the picture on the tape, that in a way that, listening to this album for 20 plus years, I got in Simon Garfunkel when I was in college. It was something special. Also, voices of old people um, just sounded more real when you listen to it on tape. Yeah, this whole album has great storytelling. The tape you're looking at. I've said it before though, but you're looking at the address West 52nd Street, New York, New York. Um, you just don't get this feel. Even like the little crack marks on Art Funkel's face. I don't know if you could see that there. Um, Really special. So, all right, I'm gonna get going, but um feel like I need to talk a little bit more about these tapes in depth. So stay tuned for a couple different episodes with that. Hit me up if you had a similar experience with these uh, tapes, um and give me some recommendations too. I'll be happy to see it. All right, we good? All right.